In this digital clip, we're going to look at the first step in our coaching process in more detail, and that is rapport. Rapport. It's a word lots of people use, but it's rarely understood. It comes from the term to be in harmony with, to dance in partnership with, and it very eloquently describes what we're trying to achieve from rapport. Because rapport is a gift that you share with the other person, and it defines the quality of the relationship that you have. It's the first step in our coaching process, and without rapport, we cannot coach. So there are two styles of rapport. There's conscious, content-based rapport, where we talk about the same kinds of things. And we've already discussed and described a simple model for understanding the depth of rapport through the content of a conversation. So when we look at content-based rapport, we often look at what's going on in the words. What do the words actually mean? And in logical levels, we talked about the fact that we've got environmental rapport. We've arrived at the same place. We've got behavioral rapport. We do the same things. We've got capability-based rapport, where we've learnt the same skills. Beliefs and values-based rapport, where we discuss in depth really interesting stuff that's important to us, and we know how it makes the other person feel. And finally, identity and purpose-based rapport, where everything below can be different, but we're still moving in the same direction. We're still trying to achieve the same purpose. So content-based rapport is very much around what the words actually mean. Context-based rapport is everything else. It's our physiology, our tonality, our body language, our inflections. It's the way we say the words, not the words themselves. So let's consider taking rapport and making it a process. The first step in the process is understanding the building blocks. And the core building blocks we've already discussed when we looked at communication, when we looked at body language, the tone of our voice, and the actual words we say. So as we look at our actual language, we can notice it's broken down into many different aspects. Some of the aspects we've already discovered when we looked at representational systems, and we looked at visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. The language of our thoughts. And we can build rapport by matching the language of the coachee's thoughts with our own language. There's more than just representational systems help us build rapport through language. There's also unique words. Have you ever noticed when somebody has a conversation with you, they put an emphasis on a word or a part of a phrase, and that says to you at an unconscious level, this word means more than the literal meaning of the word to them. By emphasizing the same word in a response, their unconscious mind says, this person really understands me. They use that word in exactly the same way I do. There's also regional words that are bespoke to that particular location or region. And we all do this. We find ourselves picking up the phone, after being away on holiday, and suddenly we speak with our holiday voice. You'll even find in certain organizations and teams slang words which mean more than just the word themselves, and they've just become part of their everyday language. In some organizations who have 3-letter acronyms where people always talk TLAs, AIRs and things like this. So they become part of the language of rapport. To build rapport with that person, we have to use the same language in return. You'll even hear people say things like, well, I need to dress up for the directors or dress down for the core crew. But we even do the same with our language. If we're working with the directors, we tend to crisp up our language and make it clean and tidy. So it isn't just the words we say, it's the way we use the words we say and what we scatter around them that counts. So whilst we're conditioned to believe that words are the smallest part of communication, they are by far, if they're chosen well, very powerful. The next building block of rapport is voice. How we say the words we choose. And voice carries a lot more weight than just the words in their own right. We can consider the inflections somebody uses. I'm sure you've all seen the American Pie film where the lady says, there was this one time in band camp, and the inflection always goes up. In the UK, when the inflection goes up, it means there's a question. When the inflection goes down, it's a command. So inflections are interesting because they mean more than just the words that are in the sentence. Have you ever noticed how sometimes people may pause in all sorts of different places because they think in a different way? And if we use in our questions the same style pauses, it says to the unconscious mind of the other person, this person thinks the same way I do. Accents and slang are a great way of using our voice to emphasize where we come from, so they're a natural rapport builder. Some people talk really, really quickly, and if we don't communicate with them at the same speed, then they want to jump in and answer the questions too early. So pace is important. Some people speak very slowly and very deeply, and that's a great indicator of the way they think too. So slowing our voice down and breathing more deeply and allowing ourselves to feel the words as we say them helps us build rapport with them. Some people shout really loud. Sergeant Major's voice, it can be heard across a 2,000-metre battlefield. And for them, volume's important. Some people speak in a very monotone voice where everything is said at the same pitch and pace. And some people, it's up and down all of the time. The final building block of rapport is body language. Within the aspect of body language, we can start to consider things like physical contact. And it's an interesting tool within coaching terms because sometimes the physical touch of a hand on a shoulder can emphasize a point or a word that we're trying to get the person to consider in the way of a personal change. So physical contact can be quite a challenge. Simple rule of thumb is obviously we need permission to do it, so we stay away from it. But in our environment, it's about matching what the other person does. So if they slap you on the back, they're almost giving you permission to say, well, it's okay for me to slap you on the back by return. The next one is gesticulation, the way we move our hands. I'm sure you'll all remember seeing football managers on the sidelines using massive arm movements to indicate to a team or a player where they should or shouldn't be in a game. And at the other end of the spectrum, we've got people who use their arms in a much more constrained and confined way. Eye contact is a really interesting challenge with body language because each culture has different rules on eye contact. In the eastern areas of the world, sometimes they think eye contact is rude. In other areas, we say, look at me when I'm talking to you. Or if somebody doesn't maintain eye contact, they must be lying. All of these embedded beliefs sometimes challenge our use of eye contact. But eye contact is a core skill when maintaining and developing rapport. Breathing. The depth and length of breath is a phenomenally powerful and totally unconscious rapport building tool. And you'll see people like horse whisperers and dog whisperers that actually breathe the same way that the animal breathes, because at a deep subconscious level, that breath is a totally unconscious rapport builder. We've also got personal space. Human beings have this unconscious aura around them that says, that's my space. You can step close to it, but if you get in it, I'll step back. So being aware of the personal space helps us build rapport. We've also got energy levels. The person naturally exudes energy when they speak, when they communicate, when they move. And energy levels are a great builder of rapport. You'll often find with public speakers, they match the rapport and energy levels of the audience when they come in, and they slowly build their energy levels up during the day to get the audience more fired up and wound up. And that's using rapport to influence. Movement. Have you ever noticed some people can't stand still when they think? They have to walk, they have to pace around the room. So matching somebody's movement. In fact, we even say in coaching terms, to have rapport, you have to walk at the same pace. So movement is a key. And finally, facial expression. A picture paints 1,000 words. Well, people read our faces every day. And if they're smiling and we smile back, their unconscious mind says, I like this person because they're like me. So the three key building blocks of rapport are the actual words we use, our language, our voice and how we use our tone and inflection, and finally our body language. And the aspects within those building blocks, But what is the process of rapport? Well, the process of rapport is simply this: matching, pacing, and leading. So when we're taking the process of rapport, we are matching the key building blocks, their tonality, their words, and their body language. And we do that for a while until it just becomes the way we both operate. And slowly but surely we move to pace. And as we pace, we change one of the three aspects ever so slightly. We up our energy levels, we up the speed of our voice, we up the tonality of our voice, and we look for changes in them. And if they change to match the way we're now speaking, what that says to us is, I have rapport with this person. The nice thing about rapport is we all do it subconsciously. And what we're doing on the coaching course is breaking down our subconscious skills so we can model them and become excellent at building rapport with most of the people most of the time. And this is one of the biggest challenges as a coach. We're taught that we can build rapport with any person all of the time. Yet that doesn't always work. So it is always worth reflecting on the fact that if you haven't got rapport, maybe a different coach can do it for you. And I'm sure you all know people who are rapport magnets. You walk into a room and they have rapport with dozens of people in moments of time. So rapport, without a doubt, is an interpersonal skill some people seem to be born with and others seem to have to learn. But as a coach, rapport is a prerequisite for every conversation. However, there are times as a coach we may want to break rapport. And that's another skill in its own right that we'll come back to later.